You open your eyes, and this is the first thing you see. What do? Honestly, for me, if I encountered anything like that, I would probably be like, I sleep. But okay, jokes aside though, I'm really loving Sister Crone's facial expressions in the anime. I have to say, I'm very pleased with that. It's one of the things I really loved from this arc for the manga. When Sister Crone was first introduced, she had just so much life put into her face in the manga, and I'm glad that the animators are showing this side of Sister Crone. Getting to see these facial expressions are just so bizarre and weird, and you're like, this woman crazy, like she's straight crazy, like she's gonna rip your head off or something. That's literally how scary she looks. So I'm really happy with the way Sister Crone is kind of turning out in the anime adaptation of The Promised Neverland. So Ray is the traitor, or is he the traitor? Now, I'm going to talk about many different ways this can go, and I'll let you guys figure out what you think the truth really is. So let's look at this episode. Let's kind of zoom out of the episode and look at everything that happened and why Norman thinks Ray is the traitor. At the end of the episode, when Norman is pulling the rope/bed sheets out from underneath the bed and they find out that there's nothing there, the reason why instantly Ray said it must have been Dawn is because earlier on in the episode, Norman's like, okay, how we'll tell if Gilda or, Dawn is a traitor is by letting Gilda know that in the ceiling, that's where, a part of the rope will be, and under the bed is where, another part of the rope would be. And so basically that meant right there that whatever rope is gone would mean who is really the traitor. And also it was stated so what would happen if they're both traitors? Like if both was taken, Norman said he had an extra precaution to make sure that didn't happen, or if that did happen, it would be a-okay. In this case, the reason why he instantly thought it was Ray is because of a couple of different factors. Number one is because Gilda already clarified before the event at the end of the episode happened that Gilda was innocent. Emma confirmed herself. So Norman, he's thinking constantly ahead, like four-dimensional chess. This man, he's thinking way above and beyond anyone else when it comes to planning for the escape from this farm. Now, one of the things you got to factor into is that the reason why he actually mentioned Ray was because, once again, Gilda clarified that she was okay because Emma saw it herself, and then so that would only leave Dawn to be someone that could be, suspicious, someone that could potentially be the traitor. And so that is the reason why the ropes were gone from underneath the bed, was because that was supposed to be Dawn that knew about the ropes under the bed. So if, for instance, Gilda's was automatically gone, that would have meant that someone else was listening in on the conversation that Ray and Norman had, because Emma was not there. So it would automatically mean that Ray was a traitor. So obviously if Ray is a traitor, he wouldn't have taken Gilda's as well, because if he did, then it would have automatically made it to where he is someone that's suspicious and they cannot trust. So that was thinking ahead on Ray's part. So if Ray is the traitor, the reason why he didn't take Gilda's is because he knew he would have instantly been detected. So that was one part of it, and one phase of the plan that Ray was thinking, if he is one. And when the rope got taken from underneath the bed, the reason why that was taken and why, Norman thinks it's Ray is because Norman never told Dawn. He never told Dawn at all. That's the assumption you can get. He never told Dawn where the rope was at all. And so the only one that really ever was a part of that conversation, what you can see from this episode, was Ray. So think about that. Put A and B together and you're like, oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So if he didn't tell Dawn, then that would mean Ray would be the only one to know, which in turn would have meant that it is Ray. So there you go. That's the reason why he figured it out. So is the traitor Ray is the question. Now let's look at the other side, okay? Let's look at, how Norman could potentially be a traitor. Now I've already kind of planted the seeds in this video to kind of clarify that as well. See, Norman, as I've already said, he has a weakness for Emma. And when you think about him as a character, does it seem like in some ways he might put Emma's life before everyone else? Think about that. And let's look at the conversation that Ray had with Norman right before the scene to where Ray's potentially a traitor. Norman asked Ray, what causes someone to betray their friends or to be a traitor? Ray clarifies it's most likely something they want. For instance, the other party, the one that they're, talking to and giving information up, they might guarantee their life. For instance, this situation, what they're in right now, if someone was to betray everybody else, they might guarantee their life, they might be able to live on and be able to eventually become an adult. Because we do know becoming an adult does seem to be possible. When you look at the mama, you look at Sister Crone, you can obviously see that becoming an adult is possible, but there probably is some certain requirements to probably get up there. And in this case, maybe a traitor would be willing to lie to be able to guarantee their life. And so, when you think about that entire conversation, it would make sense if someone like Norman would betray everybody else just to safeguard Emma. See, let's look at the conversation back in episode 2 between Ray and Norman. In that conversation, remember when Emma's like, I want to save everybody. I want to save everybody. I may be naive, I don't care, but I want to save everybody. And Norman, one that's a genius, and Ray is a genius, he instantly did not like how Emma was acting. Ray was pointing it out, but, Norman went alongside of it. And then, when Norman and Ray were by themselves, Ray confronts him like, why are you doing this? You know for a fact that we can't, save everybody at once. I mean, it's going to be almost impossible. There's literal babies, like kids that are so young, like, they'll never be able to climb up a rope or something. So, how are we supposed to do this? And Norman reveals that he loves Emma. So, in that moment, you can see that he's willing to break his intelligence, his logic, just to do unlogical things for Emma. So, who knows? Maybe, if he is a traitor, he might have thrown Emma's name out there like, okay, I'm willing to betray everybody just to make sure Emma survives. Because let's look at the key elements of what we've seen so far. Sister Crone and Isabella, the mother. They're women. They're only female. And when you think about it, there's no males. We haven't seen a male at all. Now, we have to assume that there has to be males in this society. Even with the demons and all that, regardless of whatever's out there, there has to be some form of males. Because reproduction, making these children, again, to sell more products, it's common sense. It's a no-brainer. So, there has to be some form of men out there, but we haven't seen them. And in this case, you might assume that from only seeing, Isabella and Crone, if Norman is a traitor, he might be trying to protect Emma for eventually one day she can become a mother, a part of the farm. So there's a lot of things you can get from this episode that kind of makes Norman and Ray seem very suspicious. Now, Gilda, she was someone, like I said, that was in the spotlight. And, she was someone that seemed to be very suspicious in this episode and the last episode. But this episode finally does clarify that she isn't actually a bad person. She was talking to Sister Crone. That was clarified. But she did not give up any information whatsoever. Which does mean that Sister Crone is back at square one all over again, trying to figure out what's really going on. And, get ahead of Isabella before she could eventually take away her title and become the mother of the farm. There is another character in this episode that had a lot of suspicion thrown on him, but it was very, and it wasn't really subtle, but there was suspicion thrown on him. Phil, this little kid right here. Ray asked the question, what was Phil's score again? And it's revealed that Phil's score is pretty freaking high for his age. He's a young kid. He's very intelligent, obviously, from his score, because the tests these kids are taking are definitely not easy whatsoever. We saw that in the first episode. So when you look at everything that just happened, you're like, wait a minute, is it implying that Phil could potentially be a traitor? Because he is in every important scene. Like, he's a kid, he can get around, he acts so innocent with his little face. He might be a traitor, he might be someone that is revealing information to Isabella. Who really knows? But there is a lot of setup. It could be Norman, it could be Ray, it could be Phil. There's a lot of setup with this episode, and I do have to say, I love the tension in this series. It's why I loved the manga. It's why I loved reading it when you saw these different things pop up, and you're like, who really is it? And that's the beauty of this series. You never know what to expect. There's just so much tension, stress, and you're constantly second-guessing yourself. Like, am I really right? Am I wrong? There's a lot of questions. So, what else to get into? I guess, let's get into an animation section I really liked. I love the POV scene when Emma, Norman, and Ray were walking up the stairs. It was a very creepy scene. I don't remember that from the manga, it's been a while, but I know for a fact the way the POV did it in this episode is a lot different from the manga, but I have to hand it to the animators that worked on that portion of the episode, because it wasn't, let's say, an action-packed part of the episode. It wasn't beautiful, so to say, like stuff you would see in a movie or whatever, or a beautiful episode of Fate Stay Night, or, etc., etc. But the point is that that scene did its job properly, what it was for, building up the tension. And that's what makes Promised Neverland really tick and become a good series. Why so many love the series, read the manga, is because of sections like that in the manga. And the anime really did a good job on having the character slowly walking up, and you didn't know whose POV it really was. We didn't know if there was going to be a jump scare or whatever, but the slow, gradual build-up as they were walking up the stairs very slow, and you could hear multiple footsteps as they were walking up, which I do like that little part to the audio. If you're paying attention, you can hear multiple footsteps. So you knew for a fact it was a group. And so you knew it was most likely not Isabella or Crone, but you were still questioning what's going to happen. Like, as they get further and further up the stairs, is someone going to jump out of them? Is Sister Crone going to jump out of them? It's just so many questions. And so I like that little section of the episode. Easily one of my favorite parts. When it comes to just what the studio has worked on for this anime, I want to see more of that. That was a really good scene. So, let's tackle the dialogue, or, just them yelling out their thoughts. Once again, Sister Crone yelling out her thoughts in her room, or other characters yelling out their thoughts, it does break the immersion a little bit to this anime. And I complained about it in my last episode review. This is a good anime. It's like a really good anime adaptation, but having the characters not think inside their head and yelling out constantly is really jarring, because they're supposed to be keeping everything secret, and the walls are obviously not that thick. So having them yell out their plans like they did throughout this episode, or Sister Crone yelling out like she did, it just seems like someone would easily be able to eavesdrop and figure out what's going on. And in reality, in the manga, they were constantly either whispering or they were talking inside their mind. So not having eternal monologues, it's a little bit upsetting. I'm really kind of upset that that has not been added. It's not removing from the series in terms of, like, the dialogue or the story progression. It makes probably anime only just so confused. Like, how are they getting away with talking this loud, or at the point of yelling, when in reality, they never did that in the manga. And just, I feel bad for anime onlys, because they're probably like, this is like some plot holes or whatever. How's people not being able to listen in? But that didn't happen in the manga. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. It's a good episode. I like it. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Do you enjoy this episode? Did you hate this episode? Be honest in the comments below. And with that, I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.